Welcome to Prime 9, the countdown show that covers the very best in baseball. Guaranteed to start arguments, not end them. This week, it's the 9 greatest designated hitters. Why 9? That's baseball. 9 players, 9 innings, Prime 9. So you ask, how does one crack the lineup for this show? Well, you had to have had a minimum of 800 games as a DH.
How's that for the big hurt?
And of course, you had to have played in the designated hitter era, which we and everyone else define as since April of 1973. That's when Rob Blomberg of the Yankees became the first ever DH.
Hard ground ball, another base hit for Blomberg.
Who at the time could have imagined that we'd someday rate the top 9?
And this one is gone into the bleachers.
Or that it would still be used in just one league.
We don't like the designated hitter.
Or runner?
No.
You're going to adapt the hitter pretty soon.
No, we won't.
Well, like it or not, the DH has extended careers.
To the track, to the wall, it's gone.
And produced an impressive list of sluggers.
Grand slam, home run, Edgar Martinez.
And so we begin with number 9 on Prime 9.
Brian Downing was just as good power-wise, consistency-wise as I think anyone has played the game.
Pretty well hit down the line, short left field, back in the corner, it is gone.
He just came and he would beat you in so many different ways if he could.
When he walked up to home plate, he was going to swing as hard as he could and try and hit the ball as far as he could.
Downing has launched it.
Brian's shirt might rip apart when he swung.
Downing began his career behind the plate, but injuries soon took their toll.
Brian was an outstanding catcher when he first started with the White Sox. And then he had some problems.
He was traded to the Angels in 1977 and in time became the DH, a role he would come to enjoy.
I think it was probably tough on him to be in the DH role, but I think that later on he understood that it did prolong his career.
What made Downing so unique as a DH was where he often hit.
Brian was a leadoff guy. Can you imagine that?
That is a base hit to right. Downing has a leadoff single.
And he was a solid man at the top of the lineup with a career .370 on base percentage.
Here's this guy at his size and his strength leading off a game knowing that, hey, I might have to face this guy, at least 3 times, 4 times, hopefully, if I'm having a good game.
In the air to right, Dave to the track, turns, leaps, it's gone.
In addition to his power, Brian had a good eye at the plate.
Very patient. He was one of those prototypical, I'm going to hit one of your mistakes. You're bound to make a mistake. The more pitches I see, the more mistakes you're going to make.
A guy with that open stance, had a good idea what the strike zone was all about. A very consistent hitter.
If he hit one on the screws, you better get out of the way.
Uh-oh. No doubt about that one.
He took a violent attack. It's fun to watch.
Here's Chili Davis.
In his 10 years as a DH, Chili hit with both consistency and power.
I think what enabled me to be a good DH was my mental approach to it. I realized my job was to drive in runs.
Most designated hitters don't start in that role.
Batting third, center fielder Chili Davis.
And Charles Theodore Davis was no exception, playing the first 9 years of his 19-year career primarily in the outfield.
Base hit left center field.
He kind of went from a pretty good outfielder to kind of just strictly a DH-type player.
As long as he could hit, this student of the game was happy.
His attention to detail and the way he tuned in when the game was on the line, it was unbelievable.
Well hit ball deep to right field, and this ball game is over.
What I loved about hitting was the pitcher-hitter confrontation, trying to stop me from doing what I do best and trying to beat him at what he does. So, I decided that, okay, if I'm going to be a DH, then I want to be the best DH there is.
Chili Davis launches one.
Chili's the only DH on our list who has double trouble at the plate, ranking 4th in home runs among switch hitters.
Chili Davis jumps on one, deep to right field, and over the wall.
Davis hit 20 or more home runs 10 times in his career and 90 or more RBIs 6 times.
Chili was a threat all the time. You don't even know how to set your defense around a guy who can hit with power like that to all fields. You hate to see him come up with the game on the line.
and 3 championship teams benefited from his presence.
How far is this going?
He was on Minnesota when they won it all in '91, and on both the '98 and '99 Yankees.
You're not going to be a DH to get on base and steal bases. You're here because you can hit. I was put in the middle of the lineup, and my job was to drive and run, so I took a lot of pride in driving and runs.
Welcome back to Prime 9, featuring the game's greatest designated hitters. We've made our case for both 9 and 8, which means it's time for number 7.
Donnie was the perfect DH. He was some kind of chiseled.
And that body produced 9 20-home run seasons.
To left field and deep, Don Baylor hits one out.
He was such a dangerous hitter. That's how he got the nickname Groove.
He had a football injury as a kid for the shoulder, so he couldn't throw very well. But just bullets he would hit.
Grand slam home run, Baylor.
But Don was a rare breed of DH, for he also stole 20 bases or more 8 times in his career.
Baylor, if you could eliminate him from hitting the ball over the fence, he'd get on base and he would be a threat. He'd be one of these guys, if you do not pay attention to him, he's going to steal a base. That was Don Baylor.
Ah, yes, getting on base, something Don did any way he could.
He had this habit, when he'd get 2 strikes, he'd start to leaning a little bit closer to the plate.
As a result, only 3 players in baseball history have been hit more times than Don.
I didn't want to give. I got hit 267 times. But when you're swinging good, you get out of the way.
And Baylor was swinging just fine in '79 when he led the Angels to their first ever division title and was named the league MVP.
If there's anyone in the league that was going to win it that year, it had to be Donnie, because every occasion when we needed a big hit or someone to hit the ball out of the ballpark, Baylor was there.
The MVP award was a first for a player with more than 60 games as designated hitter. He also holds the distinction of being the first of 2 players ever to reach the World Series 3 consecutive years. That is, with 3 different teams.
Powerful man. Helped us a lot in 1987 by hitting a big home run in the World Series.
To deep left field, and that one is gone.
He was a great player. A guy that just came to the ballpark expecting to beat you day in and day out.
From the Kansas City Royals, Hal McRae.
When the designated hitter became a part of the game in 1973, Hal McRae was one of the first players to embrace it, and he set a standard that others would follow.
He took to the DH rule as good as anybody I've ever seen. I mean, he would go down the batting cage when he knew he was going to come up that inning. He'd go and run in runways and always be prepared.
McRae, nobody will get this one. It'll be extra bases. McRae stops at second. He has himself another double.
Really, as a designated hitter, you must feel that you had 4 at-bats rather than 4 pinch hits. So I needed to feel the tempo of the game at all times.
He was a tough out.
McRae gets around on this one.
If you pitched him away, he went away. If you threw some soft in, he could jerk it on you.
The old pro Hal McRae.
One of the toughest hitters I ever faced.
And once he reached base, that toughness became something infielders had cause to fear.
Hal was not only a good hitter, Hal was a very aggressive ball player.
In fact, there's a rule in the books called the McRae Rule to prevent players like Hal from going too far in their effort to break up a double play.
I would do almost anything to win a ball game. That's basically the way I played. Take no prisoners. I really didn't try to make friends with the other players. I really didn't care what they thought. I tried to win.
A world champion in '85 and a doubles machine who hit for average, Hal McRae blazed a trail for future designated hitters.
He was one of the first guys that actually welcomed the opportunity to be a DH. He showed the ability to mentally focus and accept it, so he's one of the elite guys.
Welcome back to Prime 9, featuring the Major League's 9 greatest designated hitters. Brian Downing and Chili Davis checked in at 9 and 8 respectively, followed by Don Baylor and Hal McRae, which means it's time for number 5.
Batting fifth, designated hitter number 3, Harold Baines.
There are few and far between professional hitters, and when I say professional hitters, that means he knows what's coming in a certain count in a certain situation.
And a breaking ball hit deep to right field.
And is able to take that and use it to his benefit, and I think that was Harold in a nutshell.
Harold Baines has hit a home run to break the tie.
Harold Baines, smooth swing. All those years in Chicago, he could have played another position.
Harold was an outfielder his first 7 years, but it was his 1,644 games as a DH that caught our eye.
DH tonight, he's had a lot of knee problems, but he is swinging the bat like he always does.
Enough to wrap 384 home runs and drive in more than 1,600 runs in his career.
An extremely professional hitter, had a tremendous idea at the plate.
He hit behind runners. If he needed a single, he could do that. He could walk. He could hit a home run late in the game.
That's deep into center field. Manning going back. It's out of here. A home run for Harold Baines.
It's a great position if you learn how to do it right. And Harold, with his power to both sides.
Down the left field line, this is trouble.
He was just such a pure hitter. Anytime you have a 300 hitter with power, they're a threat.
Baines hit 20 or more home runs 11 times and fell just 134 hits shy of 3,000. No doubt about it, this full-time DH put up Hall of Fame numbers.
When you start looking back at the designated hitter position being a set position for a guy, Harold Baines took it to another level.
Wow, did he hit that one? Adios!
To be a guy who hit for average, hit for power, and drove in runs was very unique.
Like Baines, Paul Molitor spent the first part of his long career with glove in hand. As an infielder, they called the Igniter.
Trying to defense this guy as a pest. I mean, he had it all. He could hit with power. He hit for average. He could bunt. He ran really good.
Every day he went out there, he played the game hard.
But his aggressive play led to injuries, and Paul began to lean toward DH in '87. All he did that year was hit .353 and have a 39-game hitting streak.
Just to get to 20, in my book, is a great streak. But with Paul having a 39 at that time was great.
39 in a row, how about that?
Paul was the DH for every one of those 39 games, and come the 90s, he took on the role full-time.
Molitor drives it to left. This ball's hit well, and it's gone, a home run.
Probably the quickest hands that I've ever experienced.
Because there was such little movement going on, he generally made really, really good contact.
Now able to keep his body healthy, Molitor led the league in hits 3 times as a DH.
And Molitor sends one deep left field. Home run, Paul Molitor.
And he remained a threat on the base paths.
Tremendous base runner.
Throw down, and Molitor's got it stolen.
Any little element that he could study about the pitcher that would give him the benefit of stealing another base, he was gone.
Here comes Molitor to the plate. He is stolen home.
Paul was also the catalyst of the '93 world champion Blue Jays.
Well, a tremendous blast into the second deck and left. They were chanting MVP.
And well, they should, for Paul was the series MVP. With more than 500 steals, 605 doubles, and all those other base hits.
Right center field. Myers and Nunley chase it. The ball drops. Molitor has his 3,000th hit.
Paul Molitor was indeed the perfect fit for DH.
The designated hitter rule was made for guys like him.
In my opinion, as a DH, had the total package.
Perhaps the most imposing DH at his peak was David Ortiz.
You can tell, I guess, when he's locked in on how his hand clap is. He gives you one of these. But when he really gets into it, you can tell the pitcher's in trouble.
He just did it one big moment after another.
2-1 pitch. Swing and a drive. Gone. Jump on him back, fellas. The Red Sox win. David Ortiz.
Big Papi has a knack for coming through in the clutch, and his consistency speaks volumes. In 2004, he began an impressive run of more than 40 home runs and 130 RBIs 3 straight seasons.
You just know he's going to come through, and they're huge hits, huge RBIs, and huge home runs.
No DH has ever hit more than David's 54 in 2006.
Swing and a drive. Want to talk about 54? Number 54 for David Ortiz. He's done it again.
He's even more dangerous in the clutch. When you get guys on and the game's on the line.
One clutch hit after another for the Red Sox.
In both 2005 and 06, he led the league in RBIs with a 2-year total of 285.
Walk off for Big Papi.
Big Papi does it again.
I think when people look at him, you know, they think first of that big smile, and then they think of the terror he can bring with that bat.
That bat brought joy to Boston and has helped earn Big Papi 2 World Series rings. He is, without doubt, the DH of the new millennium.
Ortiz hits it in the air to center field. Ortiz and the Red Sox walk off with the win. The greatest clutch hitter in Red Sox history has done it again.
And certainly he has to rank maybe the best of all-time DHs in Major League Baseball.
Well, maybe in Boston, but we've got 2 more to go on Prime 9. We now return to Prime 9, where this week we're featuring the 9 greatest designated hitters to play the game. These are men who perfected the art of coming off the bench 4 or 5 times a game and locking in on the pitcher. So now it's time for number 1 and 2, the best designated hitters the American League has ever seen. We begin with number 2.
When you see a guy 6'5", 275 pounds walk up to the plate, it's going to grab a lot of guys.
What strength and power for Frank Thomas.
I don't want to say I was intimidated by it, but you know, when he was a big man.
Oh, is that thing hit?
As a pitcher, you wished he would have went on and played football.
Which he did at Auburn, but unfortunately for pitchers, this talented 2 sports star chose baseball.
Oh, Lord, let's watch this one. Into the fountain.
Frank had 9 30-home run seasons, hit over 300 10 times, and topped 100 RBIs 11 times.
Frank's early years with the White Sox, it was Triple Crown stuff. I mean, high average, big home runs, a lot of RBIs.
But it didn't matter if Thomas was at first or the DH. This 5-time All-Star put the kind of licking on pitchers that earned him a painful nickname.
I used to say, you know, he hurt that ball. He hurt that ball. And one day he had a home run there in Chicago, and he was going around first base, and I'm watching him, and all of a sudden I said, the big hurt.
Hey, you're talking about a big hurt. He put a big hurt on this one.
How's that for the big hurt?
Oh, Lordy, the big hurt with 6 RBIs in this ball game. Wow.
But it was more than just his bruising bat that brought him back-to-back MVP awards in '93 and '94, for he also cut the strike zone down to size.
I just remember Frank having the best eye. He knew when the ball was 1 inch off the plate.
Gee, I think I'll trick Frank Thomas with his 2-0 breaking ball. Not.
After becoming a world champion with Chicago in 2005, the Big Hurt had just one more baseball mountain to climb. And he'd reached that milestone as a DH for Toronto.
Thomas sitting at 499 home runs.
Fastball belted deep left center field, heading for the bleachers, and there goes number 500 for Frank Thomas, the 21st player in big league history with 500 home runs.
His performance on the field is not to be denied. And if you want to dispute that, just go check out the numbers.
This is the man right here. He's the only guy the last 5 years to hit 320 and above.
After 8 years of dabbling with the DH, Martinez embraced it full-time in '95. 7 straight 300 seasons would follow.
Edgar Martinez, no doubt about it, was the greatest designated hitter of all time. I think he knew what was coming before the pitcher even decided to throw the pitch. He was that good.
A fastball down the middle of the plate, and maybe he deep-sixed it.
He really turned DHing into science.
This one is the one I really want to have a strong, because this one is what we call the lead hand.
He just turned into this hitting machine. And you hated to see him come up there.
Mariners looking for a hero. He's wearing number 11, Edgar Martinez.
A 7-time All-Star, Edgar has to be considered one of the great right-handed hitters to play the game. For beyond his career .312 average, Edgar led the league in on-base percentage 3 times as a DH, and so many of his hits were clutch. Like in the '95 playoffs, one of the biggest hits in Seattle history.
Swung on the line, down the left field line for a base hit. Here is Junior to third base. They're going to wave him in. The throw to the plate will be late. The Mariners are going to play for the American League Championship. Edgar Martinez with a double, and they are going crazy at the Kingdome.
The Mariners had 3 superstars in that era, Randy Johnson, Alex Rodriguez, and Ken Griffey Jr., and they all left, and Edgar stayed, and the fans loved him for that.
Martinez played his entire 18-year career with Seattle. Upon his retirement in 2004, the fans honored him with an emotional ceremony, and Major League Baseball acknowledged his incredible talent with a very special tribute.
The Designated Hitter Award for the American League will forever be named the Edgar Martinez Award. Congratulations.
The award is named after him, and I don't think there's any doubt, although there have been great designated hitters besides him, that he was the best. He was a master of his craft.
The 2009 Hall of Fame vote was Edgar's first time on the ballot, and he received just 36% of the votes. Of the 9 designated hitters on our list, only 1 is currently in the Hall of Fame. Paul Molitor, possibly because less than half of his 3,000-plus hits came as a DH. There are no full-time designated hitters in Cooperstown, and Edgar is no doubt the litmus test to determine if one will ever get there. He was such a great hitter. If Martinez doesn't someday get rewarded with a plaque in Cooperstown, we have to wonder if a designated hitter ever will. That's our Prime 9. What's yours?